Here we go. Carol, I'm so excited that we got to take this quest together. Are we ready to announce what we did? We did a thing.
Absolutely.
Well, I was so excited when I got my copy in the mail. Did you get your copy in the mail?
Finally. Your mail.
And for those of you who didn't, this is going to be a little bit of a spoiler alert. Do we want to give them a sneak peek?
Just a sneak peek.
Just really fast.
Okay. There it is. Ooh.
I have to say, I love this photo because I took it while I was teaching a lettering with pencils class. So for those of you who are just seeing what this is for the first time, this is Bound and Lettered magazine. It's published by C. Hill Press, and the editor is Christopher Calderhead. And Carol and I, we're going to talk about the quest we went on, and then we took our quest to Bound and Lettered and said, "Are you interested in hearing our story?" So let's talk a little bit about our story that's in this issue.
We had a wonderful practice paper for years and years and years, Gilbert Bond. It was reliable. It was relatively inexpensive. We could see guidelines. It had a good surface for almost every tool, and students loved it and consumed it in great quantities. And for whatever reason, it's suddenly no longer made. Gilbert Bond ended, and we were stuck. And there are just so many bad papers out in the world. And I am sad when students get hold of materials that are not good, and then their calligraphy doesn't look great. And so they're discouraged.
Yeah. Whereas they may not know that it's the paper, right?
It could be the paper, yes. So I was discussing this with Heather, and we were just kind of throwing up our hands, and Heather went, "No, I think we're going to find something." So tell us what you did, Heather.
Yeah, so I used to work for a print shop. I was a graphic designer for many years, and I knew that there were paper mills, and I knew that papers came and went. So I called my local print shop, fresh off the press, and said, "What can you get me? And what's out there? And can you get Gilbert Bond still?" And they said, "No, it's not available." They gave me a couple of other options. Mohawk is a really great 25% cotton light cockle, but I never tested it because I wanted to stay with the same mill. So I reached out to Neenah. Neenah is Neeenah. And it's a paper mill. And I reached out to him and I said, "Hey, you got rid of Gilbert Bond. Can you give us a replacement?" And they gave us 6. And I went, I can't possibly do this alone. So I ordered some sample paper and I sent it to Carol and said, "Do your magic," right? Because I knew she was just going to put it through the ringer of all the different types of tools and inks that could be used. And personally, I just needed it for pencil day. I wanted a new paper to use with pencils because I love the way that the pencil, when it's kissing the paper, it has that light cockle finish. It takes it so well. It's the finest tooth, right? But it's still a tooth.
You also wanted it for your upcoming workshop with Anita Bigelow, who has it on her supply list as just a paper to fold for a structure.
That's right. So she put that on the supply list, and I think it was back in November. And I started asking John Neal, "Let me know when it comes in. Let me know when it comes in." And I was on their waiting list, and I was emailing them every week, and they were saying, "We can't get it." And so that was another deadline. Mm-hmm. And so Anita is teaching paper folding, and we're going to do a wonderful book, the diagonal pocket folder. And she wanted that paper, and I'm so glad we found it just in time. Yeah.
It is a great weight of paper for book pages, and it's inexpensive. The 25% cotton gives it a quality feel also, which I love.
Yeah.
So yes, Heather sent me a pack of the Neenah samples, and I just really ripped through them. And it was interesting in my tests. I was looking for failure.
Yeah.
I was waiting for it. And the Pilot Parallel Pen is a fine tool, and I'm a big fan of them. However, their cartridges, I think the ink is really fugitive. It fades, and it's most likely to bleed, especially that bright red.
Mhm.
So that was my number one kind of can you do it or not thing on all of these papers. And Capital Bond, red cartridge ink held up, and I thought, whoa, I think we've got a winner here.
So I have to ask, while you were writing with it on the Capital Bond, were all the other papers on the sidelines going,
Yeah,
I'm
they were,
next?
because it had bled on all those other ones. Yeah,
On all of them?
it bled on all except the Capital Bond.
That's
It's a
fabulous.
nasty, nasty ink.
So what did you learn about paper in doing that? Because I think I sent you 5 or 6 samples.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
It's interesting, the Capital Bond, the one we like is Capital Bond 25% cotton, white, not
White.
bright white.
Which you would think, oh, I want bright white.
Right. The bright white is made with recycled bits, and
Mhm.
it manages itself completely differently. It bleeds, it soaks through. It's not a quality paper for calligraphers. It
Yeah.
might work great for office papers and all
Right.
that.
I bet it's great for resumes, right? And so that's what's wonderful about this paper is it's got this tactile feel to it
Huh?
that's great for resumes. And probably any of the papers that I sent you would go through a printer and work just fine. But when it comes to calligraphy and when it comes to using some of these inks,
Mhm.
you tried lots. You tried that
I
terrible
tried
red dye.
nasty. I tried every ink that I could imagine in my studio that I would ever use, plus watercolor, plus gouache, pens,
Wonderful.
folded pens, brushes, and it's in the article, the whole
Yes.
page that shows the testing.
Excellent. Yes. So we encourage people to go out and get the latest version of Bound
Right.
and Lettered. It's the July issue. I think it's called 18.2. Yep. So we'll put a link in the chat for them to see that. And can we go ahead and show the paper?
Oh yeah,
All
definitely.
right. All right. Let me show my end because I think it's something I'll just do some really basic things and we'll start with the watermark. And this is an important piece of any type of paper that you're looking for. You're looking for a watermark in the paper. Now, it could be in this piece of paper, it's almost in the center. It might be a little higher or lower, but you'll see here it says Capital Bond with a registration mark, 25% cotton. And if you can't quite see it, let me go ahead and change I think I'm all the way down on the exposure. Yeah. So if I go higher, it kind of disappears. But here you're going to see that Capital Bond, and there's a little picture of the top of a Capitol building. And what I love about this paper, and Carol said it before too, is that it really works well when you have guidelines behind it. So I love to make guidelines for any time I'm doing calligraphy, and I make them on my computer. Some people draw them out and then maybe use a black fine liner or something. And this is just one of the handouts that I'm created for my upcoming lettering with pencil class. And I'll zoom way in so you can really see. See, there's that Capital Bond. And I'll go ahead and write it. And I haven't warmed up today, so please be gentle on me. I'm going to write it in a lettering style that I call National Parks. So I am not warmed up. Woo.
What is the style of writing, Heather?
This is called National Parks, and it's from my book.
Ah.
So it's very, what's the word? Art Deco style.
You're amazing at pressure and release. Wow.
Well, you're really sweet because I haven't even practiced today. And a quick shout out to my friend Andrea Hancock, who told me today that whenever she writes the N in national parks, she always remembers the lettering style. And so here you'll see it's so easy to see the guidelines and then take them away. And then let's brighten this up. And then you probably don't, oops, that's the zoom. Probably don't see the, there we go. You don't see the watermark as much. So yeah, it really, when you're kissing that paper, it just really takes gradients really well.
Well,
So
and it gives the line a wonderful character
yes,
because of that texture.
absolutely. Yep, absolutely. So I love using it with pencil, but I'd love for you to share how you use it with your pen
Okay,
and
I will
ink.
use it with a folded pen. One other thing about the watermark is when you're picking up a piece of this Gilbert Bond, always check which side the watermark reads right. That's the best side to write on.
That's a great tip. So I had it correct.
Yeah.
So if you find that it's either backwards, then you know that you're not writing on the side that's preferred. Great.
Right. So here I am at my desk with a folded pen and a piece of Capital Bond. I think I'll come out a little bit.
And you have a book about folded pen adventures, right?
I do have a book, Folded Pen Adventures. It's available at John Neal Books and Full Paper and Ink Arts. So I'm writing with walnut ink with my folded pen, and I'm going to write Capital Bond. And the thing about folded pens is it puts so much fluid on the page that I'm thrilled to have found a lovely paper that does not have that problem of soaking through.
Wow.
And there's a lot of sound happening. I don't know if you can hear it.
A little bit, yeah.
If I stop talking. But I just love a paper that has texture enough to grab the metal pen I'm using.
That's very juicy ink.
Yes.
Nice.
Okay, so that is not dry. And I'll turn it over and you'll see absolutely no soak through, no bleed, nothing.
Wow.
It is
That's
as
fabulous.
clean and excellent as possible.
And look at those wonderful edges. You get both the crisp and the crunchy edge from the pen.
Right. That's mostly the pen.
Right.
Typically a folded pen stroke is clean on the left side and crunchy on the right side.
If you're a right-hander.
Yeah.
And can you make it spit? I don't want you to make a mess, but
That's okay. I can make it spit.
all right. Oh,
Come on, spit. There
there we go.
I have another spit here. Whoa. These are absolutely wonderful. I love
And that's
them.
because it can grip.
It
'Cause it's
can.
got a good
It's
grip.
not slippy, slidey, can't get a grip. I want my tool and my paper to have a grip. Okay, I also, while we're here at my desk, is this a good time to show the blind embossing?
Yes.
Okay. Hand embossing means that I'm pressing the paper into a stencil, and pretty deeply, actually. So many papers, when you press into the stencil, would punch a hole in the paper. And Capital Bond just managed this so well. And then the second stage, no problems at all. So I was super impressed
Wow.
that as thin as this is, it could come up with a hand embossing that.
Yeah. And that's a 24-pound paper.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow, that's fabulous.
That was a big plus on my list. Plus it folded really well.
Yeah.
I like to fold and get crisp edges. It was great.
Do you find that you have to score it at all if you're going to fold?
No, it even off grain, it works okay.
That's great. And how can you tell the grain by the watermark or just by handling it? I haven't really found that it's got a really strong grain either way.
Grain is found by taking the paper and seeing gosh, do you want to fold this way? Or would you rather fold this way? Well, there's much more resistance here.
Right.
So this is grain long.
Ah, good to know.
Makes no sense because typically papers like this are folded in thirds and stuck into envelopes.
Right.
And you're folding against the grain.
But it doesn't break.
No, not
Nope.
at all.
And you can just use a bone folder to make a nice crisp fold.
Right.
Wonderful. Well, I think we can go on and on and on and play with new Capital Bond. But let's get other people hooked on it. Let's get them interested in it. If you're already using Gilbert Bond and you're about to run out, pick up some Capital Bond and see how they test. I mean, it's pretty much a complete replacement, wouldn't you say, Carol?
Absolutely. And John Neal was willing to order the larger pads, 11 by 17, which gives you a lot more options for something you're making, like a book or whatever, for size to have 11, 17.
Yeah. So it's available in 11 by 17 and letter size.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And he has reams of it.
I think they're coming. Yeah, it's on the website, but I don't know if they're in stock yet.
Oh, okay.
But yeah. But I'm sure that they're on their way. So we're really excited to be able to introduce to the community this new paper. And you know how we got there, but let's talk a little bit about why this is so important. You talked about the, making sure that people have, students have really good materials to work with, but it's also about continuing our work as calligraphers, right? That we actually get to maybe make something that we made similar in the past and keep that going. Any other whys or benefits to using this paper that you can think of, Carol?
It's nice to have a paper that you can just have a go-to.
Yeah.
And you get used to it. You really know how it handles itself. It saves a lot of time and stress at the desk when you can just reach for a piece of Capital Bond and know what it is good for and what it can do and how it makes your calligraphy look great.
And I love that you use it for practice and it can be used for finished pieces too. It really holds up. It's formal and informal enough. It's inexpensive enough, but formal enough looking to really hold its own on some more formal projects.
Right.
Awesome. Right. Well, let's talk about what people can also learn from us. I'd love to share Carol's website. So I will take us to her website. And here you'll see under her name, online teaching. So Carol, tell us, which of these classes that you offer would you use Capital Bond in?
Probably most of them. Certainly any of the lettering classes would Gilbert Bond or Capital Bond will be on the supply list.
Great.
Yep.
Super. So Ben Sean, we write with the folded pen on that.
Yep.
For sure. Neuland. Are you
Definitely
using
the Neuland.
Yeah.
Yes.
Folded pen.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Stamp carving, sure.
And there's the embossing.
There's the embossing. Monoline, yes.
Great. Unschul, yes.
Unschul, Jubilee. Yep.
Yep. All of these lettering styles, all of these inks that you're using and the techniques all work well with Capital Bond.
Yes.
Excellent.
And Heather is scrolling through all of my Zoom classes, which are available on my website as recordings. And you receive the recording link plus any of the papers and exemplars associated with the class.
Wonderful. And so supply lists, like you said, exemplars, demos, all of that. And these are really reasonable, anywhere from $25 to $60 for some of these. It's great.
Some are 2 days, some are 1 day.
Wonderful. Yeah, I have found these to be wonderful things to have in my library that I can go back to. So much fun. And I'm not teaching as many classes using the Gilbert Bond, though I do offer lots of classes. I would say
there's the diagonal pocket fold.
Yep, with Anita Bigelow, that's coming up June 8th or July 18th. And inside of that little blue folder there, she's using the Capital Bond as paper that you can write on. So it's a beautiful notebook paper. And I'll be teaching a class called Lettering with Pencils. And I'm using Blackwing pencils, and we'll be using Capital Bond to make a small exemplar book. So that's what I have coming up on mine, and probably going to teach it again and again. And would you say, Carol, that you tend to teach some of the classes over, or do you teach them in person, right? You go through guilds and...
I do teach in person as well as on Zoom. Yes, I do.
All right. Wonderful.
Yeah.
So I would love to invite folks to check out some of the links that we're going to have along with this video. Put any comments, questions. Carol and I love to teach. We love to share our knowledge. We hope that it lives in you as well. And so please feel free to post your questions, and we'll get to them just as soon as we possibly can.
And grab your copy of Bound and Lettered. If you don't have it, get online and sign up. It's a great magazine. It covers bookbinding, lettering, and there's always instructional bits in here.
Yes.
Not just eye candy.
That's right. That's right. All of this is very helpful for many different levels of calligraphers, whether you're just new in the field or you're an established lettering or book artist. And there's some really great articles in this. I was really thrilled to see Sue Greenseth in here and some of our other friends in the field. So, all right. We look forward to lettering with you again soon. And Carol, I don't know what our next quest is going to be other than trying to maybe run out of Capital Bond.
Well, that could be, but if there is a question in the future, I want to do it with you, Heather.
Oh, you're so sweet.
To work
Thank
with.
you so much, Carol. All right.
Okay.